You can have the most innovative product or service, but if your message doesn't resonate, your audience won't engage. Today on the ZFO Insider, we're sitting down with Liz Thibodeau, founder and president of Thibodeau Media Group, to talk about how compelling storytelling and strategic media production can transform your brand's impact.
The storytelling for me is, it happens in discovery, and I have to first define the goal of what it is we're producing, right?
Yeah.
And then humanize it. How is this going to be interesting to an audience? What you want is the audience to disconnect from where they are and connect to you and have an experience that they can identify with. If you don't put the human experience in it, no one's going to identify with it.
With over 25 years in the industry, Liz and TMG has helped companies earn hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue and donations with simple video and all kinds of media assets. If you're looking to elevate your brand's message and story to connect more deeply with your audience, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Hey, Liz.
Hey, Zoe, how are you?
I'm doing great. Doing so good. Thank you so much for agreeing to this and just coming on the podcast. I think this conversation is going to be so cool, so wonderful, so amazing, and it's just a pleasure to have you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah. So I really want to start this. Honestly, I am kind of serving myself. So you're in media production, video production, and doing a bunch of marketing in that ways. And I'm super interested in that. Like you can see, we're in a podcast. I'm doing a podcast in a major studio. Like that's different. So my first question I want to talk about is, how would you define brand?
Okay. Well, I love that question. And I would like to say that I define brand as how a particular company or person identifies themselves.
Yeah.
So it's how you believe you would like to identify yourself.
Mhm.
And what the opposite side of that is, because I debated this yesterday when I was
Okay.
thinking about this question, is it how you identify yourself or how people perceive
Yeah.
your identification?
Two different
It's
things.
two different things, and but they're both your brand. And I do believe that your brand is what you believe you
Mm.
stand for, and that could even relate to a person,
Yeah.
not always a company.
Yeah, honestly, because it's really an exchange of identity.
hmm
Like, who do you see yourself as?
hmm
And truly, if you're trying to be in business, it's like, how do other people perceive that?
hmm And marketing is, and branding is creating a strategy to
Yeah.
make sure that the perception of your brand is
Yeah.
aligned with how you identify
Mhm.
yourself and your brand.
Now, it's through our conversation. So we've met each other a few months ago,
hmm
and it's been wonderful. And I love your story. And I really love the story of how your organization kind of grew and where you're at. You're not serving small businesses.
No, we really serve anybody. We have
Yeah.
very large clients, but we have,
Yeah.
tiny nonprofits,
Oh, that's true. Yeah. What I mean is that, like, look behind you. There's a movie set behind you.
Exactly.
So it's not, when I say small, not small business, I mean small-minded business owners.
Right.
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 People who are really looking to do great things in video production, maybe shoot a movie, shoot a commercial, do large-scale national marketing
hmm
campaigns.
hmm
I would imagine that those are the type of
hmm
people that come into your office. Yeah.
And also shooting training and demonstration,
Yeah.
messages to shareholders,
Yeah.
things like that. The video. It's funny, in your introduction, I think you said 25 years, and I thought, gosh, I have to really think about that math. I mean, it's closer to 40 at this point, and I probably have to update that on our
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
But I have been in media or some kind of media production for more than 40 years.
Yeah.
So that watching where video has really grown. We're in this place, this amazing place that I could only wish for back in, the early 2000s,
Mhm.
where the gurus were saying, by 2020, everybody every business will need video. And we'd be like, we sure hope so, you know? And now that's like, it's a ridiculous statement, of course,
Yeah,
you
it's like
know?
no questions asked. You have to. In this day and age, so my audience knows me as a CFO. We
Right.
just exchange information primarily, right? In this day and age where information becomes so much, it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Information is cheap.
Mm-hmm.
What becomes more valuable is actually people
Mm-hmm.
and their brands.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great industry to be in this time, because when everyone is trying to fix it with AI, you can't fix your person, who you are, your value, and your brand with just a click of a button.
I'm really glad you brought up AI because that's really something our industry has had their eyes on, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of conversation
for sure.
about is this going to make us irrelevant? You know,
Mm,
will AI take over video production? And I had a client of mine, I'll say 2 months ago, their marketing team, they have a private,
yes.
marketing agency, told them to, and they do video with me
Yeah.
regularly, like at the end of a quarter or
Mm-hmm.
something, and told them to up it and create more video and be authentic because AI can, there are a lot of tools to make AI videos that, and they
Yes.
can even be humans, but they're
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah.
So no matter how advanced it gets, and I know there's deep fake and all of that, but it can't be truly the person. Like this conversation you and I are having are really authentic,
Yeah.
is really authentic. And you can't recreate that. So
Mm-hmm.
so if you want to combat that, just be yourself,
Yeah.
represent authentically.
Absolutely. So when you're in the business of solving problems from a video perspective, when clients come to you, they may come to you in different stages. Some already know what they want,
Hmm.
and some probably are like, make it for me, and then I'll tell you if I like it.
Hmm.
Which one do you prefer?
Wow, that's a really good question because sometimes a marketing agency will come to me and they already have the creative done. They branded
Yeah,
them, they're on
yeah.
brand, all of that script is written and they just need me to produce it. That's like a hot knife through butter for me
Mhm,
because then all I need to do is bring in the visuals and create it.
mhm.
I like that, but I also love the challenge of we know we need to do this and we
Yeah.
don't even know where to begin.
Mhm.
So that it's kind of fun to become partners with that type of a client and really watch it grow and
Yeah,
blossom.
and develop, honestly, because once you start moving, it becomes more clear,
Yep.
like, where you're gonna go, where you're gonna end up.
Yep.
That's honestly one of our principles or things that I teach as well. Action is going to create understanding. There's this concept, I call it the transformation process, and it's like you start off with the things that you're exposed to. That's like your source of inspiration.
Hmm.
You gather truths and facts from all that exposure, and then you start putting that into action before you actually can understand what's going on. So it's
Hmm.
the same process in video, right? We turn on the camera. I don't know what's going to happen on the podcast. Literally just said, all right, have I ever produced something? No, but I'm just going to do it and we're going to see what happens. And as I'm doing it, I'm learning more things. I get to sit down with Liz and her team, and they tell me, a 50 millimeter is probably a little bit more helpful than a 35. So I love that exploration process.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love it too. And when those challenging projects come across our desks, like we know we need to do something, we don't know where to begin. It's really fascinating to go through the discovery process with them, where we just go back down to zero and
Yeah.
tell me about the company and
Hmm.
the goal of this particular project. What are you trying to do? And like, do you identify with your brand and
Uh,
how so? And like maybe it's time for a realignment of the voice of their brand.
yeah. Yeah. So we're in your studio, right? This is how big is it?
Oh, 5,000 square feet. This is Studio 97,
Uh-huh.
which is, we moved in here April 2024,
Okay.
and it was a former mechanics.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and we have
You
been
can't tell anymore.
no, we've been building it out. It's taken a year with my whole team. They're amazing.
Yeah.
And we built a place. that we wanted to be, that we
Hmm.
wanted to produce in, that kind of ticked all the boxes of what we're always looking for. The reason there's a doctor's exam room behind me, if that is what it is, right? Um, we do a lot of medical
Yeah.
training and medical device marketing and things like that. And it's been very difficult over the course of my career to shoot medical in real clinical environments because
Yeah. They're using it.
their goal is patient care, not
Yeah.
to help me
Set
be a
up.
set, and I can't have complete control of the environment with sound and all of
Wait,
that.
so you telling me in your early careers you
Oh,
rented out
sure.
hospital spaces?
Sure, yeah. And we still have to sometimes because sometimes it has to actually be an accurate type of
Wow.
place. But yeah.
Okay, all you hospitals and doctors' offices, you have another revenue stream.
But it's really difficult. And they tend to be reluctant. Like I would have success with hospitals or long-term care nursing facilities that maybe had a wing that was under renovation
Ah,
and there were no patients in it, things like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's where you can go in.
Yeah, yeah. But or if the client is a hospital, they'll make room for
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
We did some work for Luminous
Okay,
Anne Arundel Medical Center,
yeah,
and they accommodated us to shoot in their facility.
for sure,
You know,
sure.
we were shooting their topic.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So we're in your studio. Sounds like you might have a lot of shooting
Hmm.
experience, but I want to ask you this question. What is one of the wildest shoots you've had in this studio that just
Oh,
blew your your mind?
easy, easy.
Yeah,
It was so with my business model here is twofold. I built the studio for myself,
of
but
course.
we also make it available to other producers that
Yes.
need a location. So this was for another producer who's also on our team and a
Uh-huh,
friend of
uh-huh.
ours and built out a lot of this
Yeah.
studio and everything. And he, we reenacted a prison in here. So
Oh,
to, this side of you, and I'll send you some pictures if you want to
okay.
edit it in. There were cells. This was a commissary where you and I are sitting. It was like the lunchroom that they had a big fight in.
Yeah.
And then over that way, we had a shower scene where
A
there was,
shower scene.
yeah,
Oh, it was a whole prison.
it was a whole prison with guards. And yeah, I'll send you some pictures.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's why did any were there any crimes committed?
Not that I
No.
know of.
There better not be. There was just an act. No, that's really cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So there's a lot of large budget productions
Hmm.
that happen here. You were telling me even that a church had shot something
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Could you tell me more about that?
The Union Church,
Yeah.
and they came to rent the White Psych area, which is
Hmm.
like an infinity set right over
Yeah.
there. And they had us paint the other side of it completely black. So it was half white, half black. And they came and shot some footage to open their Easter Mass with. And it was super.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw some of it. It was like one, they have some very creative
They
people.
really
And
do.
I'm sure you get to bump elbows with very creative
Yep.
people coming through the
Yep.
studios. And so that's awesome. Now let's shift back into brand,
Yep.
right? From a business standpoint.
Hmm.
So we have owners who don't understand brand, don't care about brand,
Hmm.
some who care a lot about brand,
Hmm.
right? How should CEOs and owners think about how brand drives their business forward?
That's a good question. I think that your brand is a living thing. Like it has to grow with times and change, but it
Yeah.
could still be committed to your basic principles.
Okay.
So, um, but I think it's important for CEOs to constantly check in with their brand and make sure that their their voice is correct.
Yeah.
Is still committed to, or check in with, are these still
Mm.
aligned with our principles, and is this really who we still
Yeah.
believe we are? And more importantly, I think that they should continually check in with the voice of customer.
Yeah. When I think about that question, even branding, like there might be a different style of brand from a large organization and a smaller one. Usually in this day and age, brand is usually personal brands.
Hmm.
Well, there is always the corporate brand, and but the personal brand has really made a rise in our time. When you have a larger organization, like you're a CEO, is the brand really you, or is the brand everyone? Is the brand your clients? How do you maintain a consistent brand when it's so many cooks in the kitchen, if you will?
Well, I think it's really important that a company brand is not tied too much to who the CEO is.
Yeah,
The principals can be,
yeah,
because that's the leader. Like I'll use TMG as an example. I started this company by myself, and I obviously have principles that I operate with.
yeah.
And then I surrounded myself by people who also have the same principles, but also challenge me and have different opinions and things like that. But it's interesting. We're in this
Mhm.
rebrand right now because I named the company Thibodeau Media Group, my last
Yeah,
name, right?
yes.
And then I wondered if I should have done that because I don't want the company to be me. I want the company to be us and what we're doing.
Yeah, that is a an important distinction. And sometimes when we're starting our companies, we don't see that
Right.
far ahead.
Right.
It's like I didn't know that we will be in this 5,000 square foot studio. I just thought we are just gonna, wake up and do it again the next day. And so, yeah, it's cool to look back and just say, if I had to start all over, if I was starting this from the beginning, this is
Yeah.
um how I would build it.
Yeah. We're now just trying to more often use TMG instead of Thibodeau Media Group.
Hmm.
I can't separate myself from it
Of
because it's
course.
a large part of my identity. But, I think that sometimes CEOs have to, the narrative should not be about them,
Hmm.
should be about what the company is doing and moving forward and how they act. Talk like and be
Yeah.
adaptable to change. Like think about Tesla.
Hmm.
When Tesla was founded and started,
Yeah.
what do you think that who what do you think their brand represented back when
Yeah.
it started?
One person? I don't know.
Green
Oh,
energy,
yeah, it
right? All
was,
right,
it
let's talk
was.
about that. Right,
Yeah.
sustainability. And who do you think that appealed to? Who do you think they were speaking to? What type of buyer?
The buyer that was environmentally conscious, they got annoyed when they saw big pickup trucks drive by them and push them off the side of the road. They wanted to save the environment and, save money and gas.
Hmm. Has that flipped recently? Who
I mean, I would think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because and I don't know if Elon's the CEO.
Is he? I think he is now.
I don't even know,
Yeah.
but he's clearly like um, the character
Yeah.
that represents Tesla, and he now, the way he's aligned, what he's doing in the
Mhm.
current administration, Tesla is now appealing to people that would never have
Yeah,
bought
what?
an
Oh,
electric
yeah,
car,
and that's the shift of the brand, essentially. Like, who is
And
it
now the
appealing to?
original people are like fighting, they're
Yeah,
burning their Teslas, all of these things. Like they could never have imagined this.
yeah, yeah.
So I think Tesla needs to make some strategy changes.
For sure, because that shows the power of your brand and how it can shift based off of,
Anything.
leadership and
Yep.
decisions and
Hmm.
how the public might see you.
Hmm.
Now, I have a selfish question.
Okay.
All right, so I'm into video now and production. If you didn't know, I produced this podcast. I kind of produced it, what is the word? Supported by TMG. Um, but I wanted to learn a bit more specifics, like around storytelling.
Hmm.
I'm sure you do that a lot. You're telling stories through commercials, through
Everything.
everything. Tell us, what is a framework or principle you follow to tell a proper story, and maybe a story that impacts our brand.
First, I want to say that storytelling has been a foundational principle that I have worked on and off of
Yeah.
since the beginning of my career. And it's turned into like a real big buzzword in the last few
Yeah.
years. But
Yeah.
I've always been a storyteller. And what I like about it is, regardless of what story you're telling, and it doesn't have to always be some emotional thing. It's not,
Yeah.
I've done nonprofits for cancer support organizations,
Yes.
and that's an easy story because
Yeah.
it's easy to
To connect to it.
connect
Yeah.
with. Sometimes we're talking about a medical device or something. So the storytelling for me is it happens in discovery, and I have to first define the goal of what it is we're producing, right?
Yeah.
And then humanize it. Like how how is this going to be interesting to an audience? So
Hmm.
for example, if it's a medical device, sometimes, the founder of a medical device is an entrepreneur, an
Hmm.
innovator, a
Hmm.
scientist, an
Yeah.
inventor, very scientific, but not a storyteller.
Yeah.
And they're like telling me all about
The specs,
the science of it
all of
and
it.
all of that. But what I'll tease out of them is how will it change someone's life?
Yeah.
And then that's the story. And then you go that angle so that someone like you who knows nothing about the medical device can be identify somehow. Oh, I
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
an aunt with COPD or whatever it is we're talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
and connect with them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been learning a lot about that storytelling, because storytelling is effective communication.
Hmm.
Honestly, you're telling stories like all the
All the
time.
time.
And it's just a matter of learning like the certain pillars of the story. What was the problem? What was the solution? What was the result? Were you a part of that result or were you not? And then adding elements of visual imagery that somebody can even think in their mind. So I think of video as just taking what we would imagine in our mind based off of what was written and just putting it in front of our eyes. So if you have good copy and someone's like, yeah, yesterday, yesterday around 2 p.m. I woke up from a great nap, and as I walked out the door, the a red blue a blue jay landed on my car and started
So you're
tweeting.
visualizing it all.
Yeah, exactly. So adding those visuals, adding those what is it, automatopoeia, is that what they call it? Those sounds.
Yeah.
Like I just started learning a bit more about storytelling, being descriptive.
Hmm.
And as you're more descriptive, it connects to the video. It gives context to the video.
Well, what you want is the audience to disconnect from where they are and connect to you. So the thread in your script that you've already written is finding a way for the the person listening or viewing to identify with it. So they
Hmm.
have to be like all in. I I feel this, I hear this, I see this, and have an experience that they can identify with. If you
Hmm.
don't put the human experience in it, that no one's going to identify with it.
Yeah. What's the story of TMG?
Wow. Uh, through this rebrand that we're doing, we've thought a lot about this. And the story of TMG to me is we're a company that's based on visuals and showing people, helping people visualize what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
And I love that we came to it as video producers. So, in the early days, and I've been a video producer forever. So when I was a producer for other companies and all
Yeah.
of that, it would just be, here's this, produce this for me.
Yeah.
And so I focused on, did it look good? Did it sound good? Are we in the right place? Is the wardrobe right? All of that, like just all the little elements. So I was trained early on about having a good eye for something, continuity in shots and
Hmm.
cuts and
Hmm.
things like that. And as a sidebar, I'm really annoying to watch a movie with or a TV show because I'll
Yeah.
see any like
Oh
break in
man. Oh my
continuity, because
gosh.
I can't stand it.
I actually would love that experience. I think for me, I'm a self-proclaimed movie critic.
Yeah.
And before I knew what it looked like to be behind the camera, I was always thinking about myself behind the camera.
Yeah.
I like how they cut the pacing of
Yeah.
the shots. Why did they add that scene? That was unnecessary. So, yeah, I would like to experience that.
Or like you can build suspense with, you know what a reverse is.
I don't know. Teach us.
So, you know, the camera's on you, right? Well, the
Hmm.
camera's on me right now because I'm talking. The
Yeah.
reverse is on you nodding and saying, yeah, that's the reverse, right? So, um, sometimes an editor or a director will add suspense by delaying seeing the reverse.
Okay.
And I really feel that in
Mm.
programs and movies where it's like I'm dying to see the other side of it, like the reaction that's happening when the person is saying these
Yeah.
things, you know?
Like if they're saying something so moving that should elicit an emotion,
Yeah,
but they delay when you
showing it to
actually
you.
see the other person responding to it.
Right.
Yeah. We see that on it. So I see some of those elements, they're subtle, but you see them, people applying them in social media.
Hmm.
Like some of those subtle elements,
Hmm.
which just increases the storytelling.
Hmm.
Like things that you don't really realize. I noticed them. Like what you said, is you called it a reverse. You see the person nodding
Hmm.
before the while the audio of the other person is going. I found that to be so tasteful. It just makes it.
Well, it's also part of the story because
Yeah.
if I'm telling you something, your response to it is part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. That's good. Now, the type of people that may be listening to this podcast are, business owners who have some type of success. They may be trying to find ways to enhance their brand,
Hmm.
right? Um, a lot of times consistency is is our bane of existence. We think that starting a brand is just by posting on Instagram and yeah, that helps, but what advice would you give to small business owners simply trying to keep the momentum growing with their brand? Do you do short form?
Sure. Yeah.
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 For clients as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Um, Generally, our clients, so kind of a couple of interesting things. You made me do some homework yesterday about like a statistic I'm proud of. And
Okay.
one of them was my retention rate, right?
Oh, yes. Talk
And
about that.
and a lot of my clients they come and they stay and they
Mhm.
might come for a little tiny one-off
Yeah.
thing, a
Yeah.
little short form thing. But then we work as partners together and it's a good feeling and
Mhm. Mhm.
they all come back. If video production or the needs they have, we can fulfill. I'm not going to say
Yeah.
every single person. I mean, obviously things time out where that
Yeah.
was their only project or
Mhm.
something like that. But so a lot of our clients for short form are just clients that have been with us forever.
Yeah.
And then they they come and they're like, we did a product demo with you. We're launching on Amazon now. And now we need a bunch of little snippets for Amazon. And then
Mhm.
we want to post on social. So I wouldn't say we're the ideal company. And my team will probably get mad at me for saying this, but like, I'm not the right person to follow someone around and do their social media,
Oh, so
like,
okay.
with a phone, because I don't want to do that.
So, okay. So I think that sometimes there's a disconnect to where video is placed.
Hmm.
And a lot of us are exposed mostly to just social media.
Hmm.
And if before social media, it was simply just TV.
Hmm.
Talk to us about where these assets are placed that you essentially create
Sure.
so we can open our minds of
Sure.
how impactful production is.
I'm going to use a client of ours, Nasaclip, as an example. So it's a class 1 medical device that stops nosebleeds. It was invented by an ER doctor, Dr. Liz Claiborne. And it's a very simple device, but
Yeah.
as an ER doc, she saw a lot of ER time wasted stopping nosebleeds.
Hmm.
And so she invented this device that's pretty cool. Sponges and it I
It
know way
just
too
stops
much
the
about too
blood.
much. It puts pressure on Kesselbeck's process right here, where a bunch
Okay.
of nerves are,
Uh-huh.
and so she came to us a few years back when she first was getting it going because she needed investors.
Yeah.
So we helped her create a couple of videos about her, why she's the right founder for this and everything, and about the product and how to use it, and a product demo
Yeah.
of how to use it. And those were like 3-minute videos, and they were placed on their beginning website and then in their pitches,
Yeah.
in their pitch decks when they're trying to get investors. So she gets investment and it goes to the next level and then comes back to us and we created a bunch of social media videos for her, vertical social media
Yeah.
videos based on um, video we shot already, re-edited
Hmm.
with motion graphics
Yeah.
and some voiceovers and music and things like that with just short little things
Yes.
explaining the product. And those were placed on social media, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, they had a different flavor,
Yes,
and they'd
yes.
be a little bit more pointed maybe towards investment.
Yeah.
And those were 16 by 9 or horizontal. They weren't
Mhm.
vertical
Mhm.
videos. And YouTube,
Yeah.
and then she came back this year and she's selling, she just went live on Amazon. They're selling on Amazon now.
Mm.
So she has funnels like trying to get them in healthcare facilities,
Yeah.
but she also wants it in everybody's bathroom cabinet where your Band-Aids are,
Yeah. Yeah.
So now Amazon. So she came back to us for snippets for Amazon because Amazon has very specific requirements. I don't notice the next time you're shopping
Okay.
about the pictures they show of products
I didn't
and
know.
little videos, and they have very set specs
Yes.
of sizes and all of that.
Yeah.
So we did all of those for her.
Interesting.
You know,
Yeah, so it's very expansive, where you can find your videos at. One of the things that I didn't realize, like when you were telling us about the church that came and did
mhm.
a production, like those videos were actually made for the large screen at
Huge.
the actual live events.
Hmm.
And so even when you have you ever been to a concert, right, and you see the
Yep.
production of what's actually happening behind
Yep.
like all those stuff are subtle. Those are where video is placed, but we may not even notice it. We just
Hmm.
think, oh, it just happened. But no, there's a studio behind it that actually created those effects, those lighting. And so I really love how AV production can show itself up live in the physical world
Hmm.
and then also show up off obviously in the digital
Hmm.
world online and things like that. That is cool. You mentioned how you delivering on the video in those different mediums affected the sales funnel, right,
Hmm.
of that client.
Hmm.
You were telling me about how you worked with a nonprofit
Hmm.
that you produced something. You were telling me it produced a direct effect on their revenue,
Hmm.
and I want to focus in on that and how directly impactful production is towards the revenue. I have a concept that I teach, which is just a model of every business. And it's this formula that if you solve this simple formula, you would essentially scale your business.
Hmm.
It starts off, this is what it is. So it's the offer minus fulfillment minus management equals profit. And in every one of those elements, there's a department head, and we usually know them CEO, COO, and the CFO. Now, I see video being an enhancement to that CEO. So, how has your production directly impacted the top line of your clients? And do you even know that?
So again, when you asked this yesterday,
Yeah.
you're prepping me for this. I loved, I want to flip this back on you.
Okay, flip it if you want.
You have a numbers mind, accounting and
Yeah.
all of that, right? So you like yearn for the number.
Yeah.
Like,
The
how
data.
does
Yeah.
this prove to me that this worked? And I thought, sometimes, very often, I
Mm.
don't know like a numbers effect. I know that, but I do have some examples. But one of my oldest and dearest clients is Landmark Roofing, and so like my clients are all
Yeah.
over the place,
Yeah.
all different
Yes.
types of things, right? And they've been with me for years. We do a lot of their web work, and we do all their video. They are growing and growing and growing and growing, but they've have a lot of efforts out there. So I don't know if my media, I know it's impacted them in a positive way, but do I have a number for that? Is it
Hmm.
quantifiable? Because what all their decisions are moving them in the right direction. And I don't know what part
Yeah.
my little piece of it plays.
Yeah.
But I do know that somewhere they believe it's working and it's important because they've been with me for 9 years.
Yeah. And what you're pointing out is a difficulty that many of us have. Like, and social media and some platforms give you data that's supported through impressions, through likes, comments, activity on a certain space. But when you have a video that's, at a concert, like what is the data other than how many people were attended? What actions did they take afterwards?
Right.
What was the merch like? Did it sell or did it go down?
Well,
Like,
some of it is quantifiable. Landmark, for example, does a lot of OTT advertising, so
what's that?
over the top. So
Mm.
digital video buys on streaming channels
Okay.
through digital marketing agency. They'll make media buys.
Yeah.
I make the media buys for them. So those are quantifiable because they'll there'll be there'll be dir- there'll be direct data about
Yes.
that spot aired and the phone rang,
Yes.
or the phone number we put in that ad
Mm-hmm.
is tracked
Mm-hmm.
against other phone numbers. So, there will be data. And what we do a lot with that is A/B tests. Like, I think we have 4 spots now running for Landmark, and, some of them get more
Yeah.
than others. But that can be more quantifiable. But the example I wanted to talk about with you is the work I do for Wellness House of Annapolis, which is a cancer support organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also, in full disclosure, on the board.
Yeah.
And for the past several years, I've been helping them produce a live event in the fall, their fall fundraiser. And usually at a live event, there's it's a fundraiser. So there'll be an auction, a silent auction going on and all of that. And usually there'll be a part in the program where we'll stop and we'll show program. Like, they'll give a couple of awards out and recognize somebody from the stage. And I usually play a video to
Mm-hmm.
kind of set it all up and everything. So this year was the 3rd year I've done it, and every year it's gotten better and better. Like, we've brought the level of the event up.
Yeah.
And this year, the video I created focused on the children that are affected when
Yeah.
cancer is in their family, and one particular family mother and 2 daughters. And it was so emotional. And like I said, these stories are easy to tell because they're really
Yeah.
gut punch stories. The video played. I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. You could hear a
Yeah.
pin drop. And then we move right over into a paddle raise, a very
Yeah.
tasteful one. Like, now you all know why we are here tonight.
What's a paddle raise?
Okay, so people have paddles with numbers on
Oh,
it.
like an
And
auction?
it's like an auction,
Like
but
for
not for
donations?
anything. It's just like,
We want to donate?
does anybody in the room
Mm.
$500? And it's like an auctioneer, $500, and people will raise their paddle,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
and then they moves up and moves up. In, I'm going to say, 10 minutes,
Mm.
we raised $70,000 from a paddle raise, which is just people gave them money
Yeah.
right after the video played.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a direct,
So
connection for sure.
Mary German, the executive director, told me and really firmly believes that video really motivated that
Yeah.
moment. And then the
Mhm.
whole evening ended up raising $280,000, which was the most we'd ever raised.
That's incredible.
So it was not just my video. I don't want to say that, but it had a direct effect.
It did. And oftentimes when I'm learning that video and brand and in general, it's storytelling is a multiplying effect.
Mhm.
A lot of times, for whatever objective it's trying to accomplish. So that means like you can quantify, what, a direct effect and say, okay, this contributed to 70,000 at the time, but how do you know what those people did after when they
No.
went home? Like
No.
the impact that story did, like change their lives, and what that led to the other types of things that they did. And I think that that's what I like about the video and the branding.
Mhm.
It goes beyond what you can even quantify.
Well, let's take it outside of money too. The people in that room might have shared it, right? And we don't know a year later, where I'm sure someone in that room was affected by cancer since October.
Yeah.
And now they're armed with information about this wonderful place
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. And that's the
It's
cool
not
part.
just money.
That's the cool part, because as owners, money allows us to serve the people in ways that
Mhm.
you don't usually get the opportunity to. So literally being in business is the opportunity to serve people, and it's an incredible experience.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I feel that all the time. Like when we're working with our clients, we're telling the story of like, this is what could happen if you did the thing, but being able to walk them through and live out that experience and see the impact when their lives are changed, that they hit the dream that they were looking for.
Mhm.
It's a different type of feeling for sure. So there isn't much more. I think we beat we beat the Yeah, we talked a lot about brand. We talked a lot about marketing, and we talked about a lot about production. And so I really just want you to talk to our audience
Okay.
with a final message, essentially. Like they're looking to grow their brand, right? And maybe someone is starting their own business, and they're you 40 years ago
Hmm.
or whenever you
They're
started,
very young.
25, 20. Yeah, they're very
No,
young.
yeah.
They're starting their business, right? But they don't have the vision to see, okay, this is where it could go. But they know they have to build an identity somewhere. Talk to them and tell them what's the first step in doing that? What can they do today to start that journey?
I think I would tell somebody who's just starting to not rush, to give pause, to stop and listen and reflect on why they want to do this in the first place,
Hmm.
and develop that why. Whether it's, and it can be in multi levels. It's usually, like I wanted to be my own boss. That was
I
my
know
first why.
that
I
gets you
wanted other
in.
people out of the way so
I
I could
get
do
you
what I
in.
wanted to do. But like, there's a greater good and a greater good. So I would say to really stop and think about what you want to do and why you want to do it.
Mm,
And then how you want to be perceived as a company. And then start there. But know that, no one's taking a chisel and chiseling in granite what your tagline is. You can grow. You should grow, learn, change, adapt, and and in this process, you're defining your customer. Listen to them.
mm,
You may go out of the gate thinking, this is what my customer wants. And guess what? 6 months later, it's like, maybe that isn't what they wanted.
mm.
Or you learn something along the way that actually they want this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I would always be open minded. Begin somewhere, start somewhere and define yourself. But,
Mm.
just like when you decorate your living room, you're not nailing the couch down, like, let's start here.
Yeah, that's actually very true. You have to go somewhere, but you don't have to be married to that one
Right.
direction.
Right.
Because as you grow, you can shift and change.
And get out of your own way. It's not about you and it shouldn't be about you.
Mm,
It should be about what you want to do. And then when you get to the next level, surround yourself with people that are aligned with what you want to
yeah,
do.
awesome.
That's what I would say.
This was a good conversation.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was great. Um, Liz, tell us where we can find you,
Yep.
where we can learn more about TMG.
Yep.
Is there something new that you're doing, you're offering? Let us know.
Okay. Well, you can find us in our new studio right off Route 97 in
Yeah,
Millersville,
Maryland.
Maryland.
Hmm.
Yeah. And you can also learn more about everything about us on our website at THIBmedia.com. And then all the information about Studio 97 is on our website
Yeah.
as well.
Mm.
And I am always open to conversations. And I don't have a perfect client.
Mm-hmm.
I like to solve problems. We're a group of doers, but we like to listen and we like to act as partners. So I'm open to anything. You can hit us up on the website,
Yeah,
send us a little note, and we would love to chat.
that's
And
awesome.
I also service clients all over the country and in other countries as well.
Oh, so
So,
you take this studio on the road.
oh, we take the studio on the road all the time.
That is honestly, we can dive into it, but like I was talking to Andrew and I said, "Man, your checklist to travel has to be
Oh,
crazy
it is. It is.
because if you miss one little adapter, one little wire, it can undermine the whole production."
There's a team role on big productions called
Yeah.
a fixer. And it's just somebody who comes to fix these things,
Yeah.
run to Home Depot and find a way to rig it. And they're really important.
Wow, yes they are, man. Thank you. Thank you to your team for helping me. I've learned a lot, honestly. Like this rabbit hole of production goes deep. Let me tell you, it goes deep. Learning lighting, learning video. And so that's not usually what an accountant is interested in. But I think it's just a cool quality.
Can,
So
can I ask you a question before you wrap it
yeah,
up?
yeah, let's do it.
What's your brand?
Okay. What is my brand? I've been workshopping it a lot this year. I mean, I've really been working on it since I've started my business, and it's been um I've been going through iterations, right? I would say that my brand is one that tries to inspire, is based off of inspiration in a way that that provides pressure to take action, not because you're terrible and you can't do anything right, but because you can be more than where you are. And so I like to tell that story. I like to equip my clients, tell that story of where you are and trying to get to where you're going, and then do it in such a beautiful, crispy way, like nice cameras with, hopefully good audio. I think so. Um, so yeah, I think that's my brand. It's like is an intelligent friend that wants you to be the best you can be.
And knows numbers.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The numbers
Don't
are great.
forget that.
Yeah, honestly, because the reason I didn't forget it is just that sometimes if you dive too deeply into the numbers or overwhelmed with data, this is what I'm understanding even in communication. Overwhelming with data analysis and stuff can paralyze the actual action that's taken.
Mhm.
Sometimes the most effective thing to do is to do the very simple thing, which is like, okay, I know that all these KPIs and metrics say do all this stuff, but what is the one thing I need to do today, next week, and this month? Because all of that is irrelevant if you can't take the next step. And so I like to use the data maybe to establish my authority. Yeah, we're not just winging it, but ultimately, all this means is that you need to wake up and go knock on a door and get another lead. You need to go and stop wasting your money here. Go and sell that thing. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
simplifying all of that into what is the next most important thing we got to do.
And in that sense, both of us are aligned. We're both
Yeah.
doing that for our clients.
Yes, absolutely.
Like helping them get better.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So look, you'll be getting a call from me.
I look
Okay.
forward to it.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah. So this was great. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Enjoyed it.